Welcome to the Board of Ethics Financial Disclosure Site tutorial video, which will explain how to correctly complete Schedule 2A of your financial disclosure form. If you need any help creating an account or completing another schedule of the financial disclosure form, please watch other tutorial videos on the Ethics Board's YouTube channel. Now let's review Schedule 2A. The first step is to open Schedule 2A of the Financial Disclosure Form, Interest in Business Entities. Before we can complete the schedule, let's review the instructions. Press Click here. You may also find the instructions on the Financial Disclosure page of the Ethics Board's website. Scroll down to find the Schedule 2A instructions, or press Schedule 2A on the menu on the left-hand side. You should now see Schedule 2A instructions. Review the information below. Be sure to review the italicized terms. They are defined in the dictionary. After reviewing the instructions, you are ready to complete Schedule 2A of the Financial Disclosure Form. If there are no interests in business entities that you need to disclose, press Not Applicable. If you or another qualifying individual or entity have an interest in a business entity, you will disclose that business entity by pressing Add New Business Entity. To disclose an interest, start by identifying the business entity. Write the business name and business address. If the business address is the same as your principal residence, be sure to check "This is my principal residence" so that this information is redacted from your financial disclosure form and not viewable to the public. In Part 2, you will disclose the holder of the interest. To add a holder, press Add. Write the first name, last name, and address. Since I am the holder of the interest, I will check principal residence to ensure that this entry is redacted from my financial disclosure form. Finally, choose the holder's relationship to you, in this case, self. Press the check to save the entry or the X to erase it. In Part 3, you will indicate the type of business. I own New Cole Consulting. It is an LLC. I will then choose the type of interest. Since I own the business, I will choose Equity Ownership Interest in a non-publicly traded entity. I will then be prompted to provide more information about the equity or ownership interest. I will need to indicate the dollar value of the interest or the percentage of ownership. I can also indicate the number of shares if applicable. I will enter 100 where it says percentage of ownership because I am the sole owner of New Cole Consulting. I will not complete sections 4, 5, or 6 because they do not apply to the interest that I hold in New Cole Consulting. Section 4 asks if there are any conditions or encumbrances on the interests in the business entity. Section 5 asks if the interest in the business entity was acquired during the period covered by the statement. And Section 6 asks if the interest or any part of it was transferred to another person or entity during the period covered by this statement. If any of those sections apply to you and you would like to see how they are correctly completed, continue watching this tutorial video as I will complete those sections when disclosing other interests in business entities. If sections 4, 5, and 6 do not apply to the interests you have disclosed, then you may disregard them. Once you finish entering all of the necessary information, press Save. You should now see the interest in the business entity that you've just disclosed. I'm going to add another interest. Like the first interest I disclosed, New Cole Consulting, this interest is also an LLC. However, once I get to Section 4, I will indicate that there is an encumbrance on this interest. This LLC has a small business loan. This interest was not acquired during the reporting period covered by this statement, and it was not transferred, nor any part of it was transferred to another person or entity during the reporting period covered by this statement. Therefore, I will disregard sections 5 and 6 and will press Save. The next interest that I will disclose is held by my spouse. However, I control this interest, so I need to disclose it. When adding the holder of the interest, I will choose spouse as the holder's relationship to me. This interest, or in this case, the ownership of this business entity, was transferred to another during the reporting period covered by this statement. Therefore, I must complete Section 6. I will indicate the name of the person or entity to whom the interest was transferred, the address of that person or entity, city, state, zip code, and I will also indicate the nature of the interest transferred, in this case, the ownership interest. the amount of it that was transferred, the nature of the consideration received for interest, for example, money, and the dollar value of the consideration received for the interest. If you did not receive money as consideration for the interest, you should then write the fair market value of the interest when it was transferred. As always, when finished, press Save. I will now disclose an attributable interest. I control my mother's interest in a business entity. Therefore, I must disclose this interest on my financial disclosure form. This interest is stock. Therefore, I will choose publicly traded company as the type of business and equity ownership interest in a public traded entity as the type of interest. If this is the type of interest that you are disclosing, you then have to indicate the dollar value of the interest, or you may write the number of shares. You only need to complete one of these fields. There are no conditions or encumbrances on this interest. However, this interest was acquired during the reporting period covered by this statement. Therefore, I must complete Section 5. I will write the name of the person or entity from whom the interest was acquired, their address, city, state, and zip code, the manner of acquisition, in this case purchase, the date that the interest was acquired, and the amount paid for the interest. If the interest you are disclosing here was acquired by dividend or dividend reinvestment, consists solely of additions to existing publicly traded corporate interests, and has a value of less than $500, then you only need to complete the portion under manner of acquisition and do not need to disclose from whom the interest was acquired. I have completed all of the necessary information for this interest, so I will press Save. You should now see all of the interests you have disclosed listed on Schedule 2A of your financial disclosure form. The last interest that I have listed, Tech Repair Stand, is an attributable interest. My LLC, Amazing Nail Salon, has a financial interest in Tech Repair Stand. Therefore, I must disclose this attributable interest. Once you have disclosed all interests held by you or other qualifying individuals or entities, you have completed Schedule 2A of the financial disclosure form. Press Save and Next to continue on to Schedule 3A. And as always, do not hesitate to contact the Ethics Board with any questions. Now continue on to Schedule 3A of your financial disclosure form and watch other Ethics Board tutorial videos for guidance.